Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Building Your Thriving Wellness Practice. I'm Chris Williams, and I am so excited to share with you Katy Joe. We are in the Align pillar today. So welcome, Katy. I'm so glad to have you here to talk about alignment.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Katy Joe is the founder of Holton Healing Arts Shaman School. I always get that. I'm always like going for shamanic, but shaman school. And she's also a best-selling author. And so I am really, really excited to have her talk about alignment. And that is something that Katy and I definitely share of, tapping into not only your own worthiness and value, but aligning so that you can show up to be the most powerful leader, healer that you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for people who need help with this piece, because I know a lot of times, especially when you are coming out of school, again, you've got the training, you've got the certifications, you have the passion, but you're not really sure who it is that they can help and what is it that they want. I see a lot of coaches and healers thinking, well, I should choose that because that's what makes the money. And I always try to shift it back to that's not really where we want to start. Can you talk a little bit about that? For how do they align so that they can know how they can attract and really connect with their dream clients?
Yeah, definitely. I have struggled and still find myself jumping out into that sometimes where it's like, oh, well, this is the thing you're supposed to do, or this is where, it's most profitable or where it seems more popular. And I find over and over again, whenever I have that like supposed to attached to my thinking, that's like a really quick, big signal to back up and tune back into myself and what it is that, I want to do and is in alignment. And I find actually, especially if you're starting out, you can really feel like you're swimming around in all of these different ideas and you get excited about all the different things you want to do. And sometimes we can hit blocks with feeling like we're not allowed or we're not giving ourselves permission to do the thing we really want. And actually, the easy trick that I find that I still use and that I teach to students is to actually, if you're finding yourself swimming around in different ideas, to just take a second and close your eyes and take a couple breaths and think of somebody that you actually maybe know that you were like, oh man, if they could just see this one thing or work on this one thing, their whole world would open up for them. And then take a step back from that. And what is it that person has going on for in their lives? And what is that thing that if they could just work on this one thing, would really help them? And that's a really good starting place for you in being in alignment with what you offer, to be able to be more focused on helping solve a problem or the kind of person that you actually enjoy working with. Because even though that might not be your ideal client, if you get really excited about the idea of helping them through the problem, that's another great clue that it's in alignment with what you want to be doing and are here to do.
Yes, absolutely. And when you're in alignment with it and you're excited about it, that energy exchange is actually what is going to also feed into attracting the clients that you are most going to want to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I'm sure you see this too, but, some of the problems when we're first starting out is, like you mentioned, all of these ideas that we have, right? And not wanting to narrow down because I can help so many people, right? I could help this and I could do this and I could do this other thing. So, when you bring them back to, what is it that they're most lit up about? What is a way that you can kind of help them understand that narrowing down and getting more specific is actually in the greater service to their client?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I find that when I started to be clearer for myself and narrow my focus, of course, like the first thing that comes up is, does this restrict me? Does this
Yeah.
in both ways? Both, does this restrict the amount of people that I could gain as clients, and does it actually restrict me as a person and as an energy and an essence? And I actually find the opposite is usually true, that the more clear and focused we can be, then the more expansive our work can be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it is a little bit counterintuitive at first. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a big part of the alignment process and journey, is constantly learning to listen to those little glimmers of excitement. And usually you'll feel it in your body, probably in your stomach, when
Mhm.
you entertain an idea that really excites you. But also, the other side of excitement is the fear, which you also hugely feel in your stomach. So if you're thinking about narrowing your focus, or being really clear and precise about who you help and how you help them, there's a really good chance initially you'll feel excited, and then right after that you're going to feel that fear. And so it's good to just know that that's what's happening, and that the fear right behind it is actually, our mind just saying like, oh, what will happen? Maybe I'll be restricted, or maybe it won't work, or maybe all of the things that we might have.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
mindset piece is so important to even just understand how our brain works.
Yeah.
That it's pre-wired to look for what could go wrong, not what could go right. So when we make a decision, all of a sudden we start second guessing and, oh, I don't know, should I really do this? Is this the right thing to do? Am I gonna, restrict who it is that can come to me or what it is that I can do? And that is normal. So for anybody who's listening that feels that way, like, let me just say that's so totally normal. There's nothing going wrong there. Your brain is actually doing what it's supposed to do.
Mhm.
And when we acknowledge that way, then we can just kind of come back to that, place of where we're really feeling like, what is a way that I really want to serve people? And would love for you to distinguish between the way that we serve people versus our offers. Because a lot
Mm.
of people think that where they start is, am I selling a 90-day program, a 6-week program, a 1-year program, a group program? And we really want to start before we're like just putting offers out there.
Mhm. The question makes me so excited. Yeah, that's so I feel that the way we serve people often has to do with our unique gifts and our unique purpose. And it
Mhm.
often is also not really really direct or related to the offer. So you might be somebody who naturally is inspiring to others, or you might be somebody who has sort of a way of showing or teaching or reprogramming people to be able to receive. But you might not be offering a program that's like, learn how to receive more. You're
Mhm.
offering a pathway or something else, and your the way you serve people is actually something that happens naturally as a product of people being around you,
Mhm.
and your offer is more of the structure to support that service and how you serve. But there are sometimes, so it's almost like it's almost like it's the foundation. The offer is the foundation, so
Mhm.
that you can have a stable ground to call in the people that you're here to help, and show up and be the best version of yourself, so you can serve them in the best way. And from there, everything begins to unfold, and our energies interact, and we learn and grow from each other from there.
Yeah. Oh, what a beautiful description. What would you say about people who are really struggling to be seen? The ones that are also kind of like, I want to do this. I have a dream to do this. And I'm afraid to actually put myself out there. We've got the imposter syndrome and feeling like, well, I'm not really qualified because I haven't worked with 100 clients yet, or whatever the brain is saying.
Mhm, mhm. Yep, that one's a hard one, and with all of these, not not to be discouraging, but it doesn't go away. It's not that the goal is to make it so you never have the doubts or the distrust or the fears, but that we actually, like you're saying, with your mind, can notice what's happening and then move on, be able to set it aside and move on despite it. And as you practice more and more, it becomes a little easier. You can do it more quickly or with less resistance. But initially, mm, I find that a lot of folks that I've worked with feel like they need to be somehow like spiritually pure or all the way healed or really like put together, and then that goes into this thinking that like I just need to fix this and then I can be the person that I'm here to be, when it's actually stepping forward and being the person that you're here to be that fixes all of the
Mhm.
other things, right?
Yes.
And yeah. So
Yes. Oh my gosh.
another one of those
So
counterintuitive things.
exactly. It's like it's everything is kind of upside down,
Mhm.
right? Like, well, when I'm confident, then I will. when you do, then you become confident,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
When I have, when I'm, get the XYZ thing, then I'll feel the whatever happiness, joy, success. No, you get to feel that now. And then that's what creates the other thing. There's so many ways that we just, I think are, and I don't know why this is, but it's almost like we're just culturally entrained to see that things have to happen in a certain way first in order for you to actually have what it is that you desire.
Yep. Yep. Yes, and that's totally what we are unwinding. That's a big part of the purpose for many of us who are doing this work.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the same is true where there's I really see what excites me about more coaches and healers stepping forward and growing their edges and being seen is, again, there's like a way that we look at really commercialized versions of things, and we're really used to that, and so we feel like that's what we're supposed to be like.
Yeah.
And really, our power really comes through when we find this nice middle ground between some of the spiritual knowledge that we've gained over our lives, whether it's mythology or, or even science, and where that's meeting just like our regular real life experience. And that like cross section of the two is where we really teach from. So if we have a tendency to feel like we want to hide the real self stuff, and show up and make it look pretty or make it seem super spiritual, then there's a way we sort of lose some of the authenticity.
Yeah.
And that's what people are actually craving. And
Yes.
that's actually what sells better, when you're just yourself, because what you're going to be doing, no matter where you are, you're going to be helping somebody who's one or two steps behind you, who's looking at you and being like, dang, if I could just
Yeah.
get to
Yeah.
where that person is, I would be so happy. And when we're there, as coaches and healers, we might feel like we don't have anything to offer, but there are many people that are really looking up to you that you probably don't even realize.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the things that I share with my clients is, you are just further down the freeway than they are. You
Yeah.
don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to have everything healed. Like you just get to be a few steps, like you said, a few steps ahead, further down the freeway, because they're not there. And you are here to serve them and help them get to where they want to go. And in the process, you continue to learn and grow and keep moving further down the freeway.
Yep. Yep. Definitely. Yeah.
There's something that I really want to talk about here with you because you and I had touched on it just briefly before we popped on together. But one thing that I see is about this ability to receive for your work in the spiritual entrepreneurship place. It's like, well, I can't be spiritual and receive money for my work. I can't be spiritual and charge people. I have to give away things, or there's really this gap in here that, for specifically in the wellness industry and those of us who have really big hearts that want to help and heal. Can you please talk about that? Because I know this is going to land for so many people that are listening here.
Yep. Yeah, that was a long, tough journey for me. I started out doing this work really for my own personal reasons. I just enjoyed it, and enjoyed the self growth that came along with what I was learning through shamanism and shamanic healing, and lots of other spiritual modalities as well. And and then I started to work with some people in the community here and there, again, really just for my own, it was fun for me. And I was getting good feedback. And then that turned into a word of mouth. And I remember really struggling with that piece where it was like, whoa, well, I'm not like, I just want to be clear for myself. I'm not doing this for the money, right?
Mhm.
But also when I started to have more word of mouth happening, then it got to the point where I have strangers coming to my home, and it takes a lot of time, and I can't just be giving all of
Mhm.
that energy away, right?
Yep.
So I'd already checked in with with my guides or with the universe to get the okay, like is this an alignment? Is this my next step? And got the all clear,
Mhm.
and I still felt really uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And so initially what I did was it was like a donation only. I had a suggested amount,
Mhm.
but that's what I did for myself to kind of loosen myself up and start testing the permission from myself to be able to receive. Um, but then I also really started to notice, well, two things. One, of course, and I'm sure you'll be hearing this throughout the course of the other interviews, but you start to realize that by having an exchange, there's that commitment from both parties. So one, as a practitioner, if I really keep a close eye on my resentment.
Mhm.
So if there's any point where I start to feel like, oh, I don't want to do this, or this feels like it's too much work, or feels like I'm, losing some energy, then I'm not going to show up as the best practitioner for my clients, and we're
Yep.
not going to have the deepest work.
Yep.
So that's really important. But then also from the client's perspective, when, I've noticed the amount, like the actual dollar amount varies from person to person, but there needs to be some kind of exchange
Mhm.
for the client to show up and commit to also being responsible for seeing their own healing and their own results.
Yep.
So that is super important. The other thing that I really ran into, and this I feel like is a huge part of, again, stepping forward and being in alignment, is you have to know how you sabotage yourself.
Mm.
And because there's patterns to the way you'll do that every time you're about to break through, or about to step into a new version of yourself, or up level, as we say, you'll always run through the same things that you do to yourself. And what I started to notice is right before I would, you know, um, uh, bring forward a new offer or run an ad, or kind of like as my business was growing, I started to panic about what it would look like to be a spiritual person receiving money.
Mhm.
And question myself. I'm like, am I just a terrible, selfish person? Is this okay? And that's when I started to notice one of the ways I sabotage myself is I question my ethics,
Mm.
which is tricky because we really want to be good, solid, open-hearted people. And it's important, but there's a difference between like ethics and integrity. And ethics is more like rules we place on ourselves.
Mm.
And, we're all walking around, as we go through life, it's not linear, and everything's a circle.
Mhm.
So I remember, especially as a young person, having big ideologies about what was important. And I remember, like, as I'm walking around the circle, looking at people across the circle that are maybe in the corporate world and are just focused on making the money, and
Yeah.
thinking like, man, your priorities are so out of whack. But then as we continue to walk around the circle, I find myself, stepping forward and, having gathered a lot of spiritual knowledge and experience, and learning how to navigate the spiritual realms, and then being in a place where it was time to actually step forward and integrate, business and money, and let spirituality come into it rather than keeping it separate. And then meanwhile, they're walking around and they're ready to do the spiritual path and they need guides, right? So there's a way that we're working together. And when I started to see that more and more, it was affirming that actually this is part of my growth. They say, what's the term? When anytime you judge somebody, you're creating an opportunity to become that other.
Mm. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So as you're walking around the circle, right, you'll have an
Yep.
opportunity to be like, oh, I see it, I get it.
Yep.
And with money and spirituality, it's similar to politics, where you meet somebody and you're like, man, you should run for office. And they're like, I would never do that because I'm not a politician. And we're
Yes.
like, that's why we need you to do it.
Because you're not right. Oh
Right.
my gosh, so good. Yes.
Yeah.
It
And
absolutely is. I think that, a lot of times there is this lack of our own sense of worthiness or value. That's, not allowing us to receive is because we're not acknowledging our own sense of worthiness and value in order to receive.
Mhm.
And, one of the things that I see over and over again is that the more you allow yourself to receive, the more you also allow yourself to give. And it is this beautiful give and take. It's not like, I'm just going to hoard all this stuff. When you allow yourself to be well paid for sharing your gifts, you've put a lot of time and energy and resources, your own resources, into learning your craft and learning your modality. And, you're basically collapsing the timeline for people so that they can have quicker results. And there's
Yes.
value in that. So it's not just about money, it's about the energetic container that you are able to hold for people as well. And that's a beautiful thing. And when you're able to hold people at that higher level as well, they get to show up, they get to do their work, and there's this, wonderful exchange that is valuable on both parts.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and such a important work, but also it's not different. I think that's something that I'm a little passionate about is it's not different than any other
Mhm.
work or job. You don't have to be special, to do you'll have unique gifts, right? That are specific to you and specific to the, soul clients that you came here to serve and exchange with. But no other job are people questioning whether it's okay to
Receive money
rec-
and receive income.
right, right.
I
Mhm,
know, isn't that crazy? It's
mhm,
so funny. I think about, even spiritual leaders, religious leaders that we see, whether, if you go to church, or priests, they still get compensated, in the form of income, lodgings, other things like that. And, you know, I remember one thing that Thich Nhat Hanh said. For those of you that know Thich Nhat Hanh, he is a Buddhist monk and very all about peace. And, he talked about, when you are struggling to put food on the table, you can't help others. And
mhm,
so if you're not allowing yourself to receive and you're struggling just to, survive, that's limiting how you can actually show up in support of the work that you're meant to do and the people that you're meant to serve.
mhm. Yeah. And that's one of the common patterns that we use to sabotage ourselves, right? Is like to keep ourselves from bringing our work forward. We might get into a place where we start to doubt ourselves, or we feel like our offer doesn't have value, or we're not worth it, or it's wrong to do it. And what we can actually just do, I mean, is like the simplest trick again is just to notice that that's, again, your mind and your ego doing its job, and know that, oh, here it is again. Like this feels almost, sometimes it can feel almost painful to entertain the idea of receiving. And so we find a way to make it not work or to push it away before it actually lands. And so
Oh,
if we can,
yes.
if we can just remember that that's what we're doing, that's our sabotage pattern, we actually can use our mind to coach ourselves into take a breath. This is how it works, right? And can I
Mhm.
actually just test little by little? I think that's another issue that can be hard is we want to make really big jumps.
Yeah, yeah.
And so for me, I know for me, I'm more of a like dip my toe in the water.
Mhm.
Well, sometimes I'll jump off the cliff, to be fair. But generally speaking, with stuff that's more triggering for me, it's like little by little. So, just start out testing a little bit, receiving a
Yeah.
little bit, and
Oh my gosh,
then
I
you can
love
grow
that.
from there.
There, yeah, and you're right. I think a lot of times, people are thinking that they need to be here and they need to jump way up here. And I like to think of it as like a target. We've got our comfort zone in the middle where we're in our comfort zone. Everything feels good. We're not triggered. We're not worried. We don't have the mind, telling us that we shouldn't do the thing. And then there's another layer out, and that's the growth piece. And that's where maybe the program or the pricing might feel a little stretchy, a little shaky, like,
Mhm.
but that really is where we get to kind of expand. And then there's also another level out there, which I call the BS zone, because that's an amount that you would never, that you would be self sabotaging yourself over and over and over and over again. And it's different for everybody, right? We can be like, comfort zone, pass the butter, I can say that, but there's probably there may be a little resentment, like you mentioned, it's undercharging still. And then there's a little stretchy zone that we get to kind of work into. But that stretchy zone then becomes your comfort zone. Right. So,
Yep.
and every time we move into that stretchy zone, we have the brain doing its thing. I like to call it new levels, new devils. We get comfortable with an amount, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't know. Are you sure you're going to lose all your clients? This isn't going to work this time. And then you're there and you're like, oh, no, this is good. And then no matter where you are in your business, whether you're just starting out or whether you've been in business for years, there's always going to be that comfort zone, shaky zone, BS zone that we kind of
Yeah.
move through.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. That's a great analogy. Perfect. Yeah, I find that like, the game with alignment is, over and over checking in again with yourself. What excites you the most? Noticing, beginning to get better at distinguishing the difference between, what excites you and what you feel like you should be doing. And then you develop the trust over and over and over again by honoring the what excites me,
Mhm.
again, and knowing your patterns and moving forward versus steering into the what I should do.
Yep. Yes, we get to take that out of our vocabulary. Everybody needs to write that down. Like,
Mhm.
there are no shoulds, there are no have tos, there are no needs. We get to just really tap into and feel, what would this feel like for me? When you visualize yourself doing it, does it even feel fun?
Mhm. Yeah.
If it
Yeah.
doesn't feel fun,
Mhm.
that's an indication, that's a red flag that that's
Yep.
probably not where you want to go, because you are meant to share your work in a way that feels joyful.
Yeah. Yeah. Because even if you are profitable in that, eventually you'll still come, that nudge to be doing the work you're supposed to do doesn't go away.
Mhm. Oh, I love that.
Mhm.
Last question, and this is all about judgment. How do you manage as you continue to grow and scale and you begin to work and become more visible? How do you deal with judgment from others?
Uh-huh. Um, it's interesting. I actually had a friend the other day who was working with some of that and bringing her gifts forward, and she was like, "Man, it's just I'm not. How do you do it? You seem like you have such thick skin." And I was like, "Well, I have gained a little bit over the years, but also like I'm like everybody else inside too, where it's like ah."
Mhm.
Um, and what I find again is I keep in mind that the whole we're walking around the circle together,
Mhm.
and learning from my own experience and some of my own shadows that oftentimes when I am judging someone else, there's something in them that I actually haven't given myself permission to do or to be yet.
Mhm.
And so when I have seen myself do that, I can keep that in mind when I feel like others are judging me, is like, oh, actually there's something, in them that they haven't given themselves permission for that they actually want.
Yep.
Usually we're not judging people when we don't care about what they're doing. It's because we
That's
actually, see something there that we want for ourselves. And that kind of just allows me to just bring in some compassion and not embody it, not take it personally or take it on. And I feel like that's a really important tool because, again, as you're bringing your work forward and seeing seen and testing some of the edges of what you share with others and share publicly, that part is it's pretty triggering for a lot of us, and then we just want to be loved.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, when we realize that it really doesn't have anything to do with us specifically, it really does have to do with the lens in which they're viewing whatever it is that they're viewing.
Mhm.
Um, and there's a saying that when I was working with my mindset coach really kind of helped me with this. So, and she's like, it's okay. I can let it be okay for other people to be wrong about me, and let it be okay for, no matter, even if they're viewing it a certain way, it's okay. Like, I don't
Yeah.
need to do anything with that because it really is about them. It doesn't have anything to do with me.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And we're gonna there's a reason that there's different people on earth, and we're gonna have varying opinions and we're not all gonna agree, and it's not their job to agree with you, and it is definitely not your job to prove yourself or convince them.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Say that again.
Yes, it's not your job to
We
prove yourself or
gotta
convince them. Yep. Mhm.
Oh, Katie Joe, thank you so much for being here today. And for everybody here, we've got a really special invitation. Katie Joe is offering a special gift code so that you can attend her event coming up in April 6th. Will you tell us a little bit about that, Katie Joe, so that people can?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, I would love to, and I'm excited. I'd be excited for you to join me there. So it's a half day workshop. It's virtual, but it is live, and we will spend part of the day looking at the healer's path and what that looks like, and diving into the four core permission blocks that all healers face as they're bringing their spiritual self forward and learning, allowing themselves to be seen and bringing their work forward. And then we'll take a short break. And then the second part of the workshop, we'll be doing shamanic journey together. So I'll walk you through that process and we'll be kind of stepping into the higher self and working with some guides. So you can experience that or dive deeper into that if you've touched into it a little bit. and we'll have some time for
Amazing.
some Q&A. And yeah, so it's a really wonderful event.
That sounds
Um,
so much fun.
it's lots of fun.
Cool. Yes, you guys go grab that code and spend some time with Katie Joe live. Like, you're gonna have so much fun. You definitely need to go do that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
I'd love to have you there. And of course, the event is recorded if you can't make it there live, but it's always better to be there live if you can.
Totally. Awesome.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah, well,
Katie,
thank you so
thank
much,
you again.
Chris.
Yes. All right, everybody, go grab the code and then come join us tomorrow. We're going to be back here again for another pillar as well as a coffee chat with me. So I cannot wait to see you guys. And thank you for being here in the Align pillar. We're just starting our journey, so stay tuned. We've got lots of experts here to share their zone of genius with you, lots of free goodies. And again, it's going to be recorded as well so that you can grab the link that comes to you in your email. And again, thank you so much, Katie. We'll see you guys
My
later.
pleasure. Bye-bye.